next guest doesn't really need an introduction. He has been a part of the soundtrack of Razorback athletics for many, many years. Football, basketball, for a long time with baseball. Of course, he did this job better than anyone that's ever done it for many years as well on Sports Wrap. Chuck Barrett's with us here on Ruscin Zach. Chuck, good afternoon.
Hey, you're buttering me up pretty well. I like that.
I got in trouble for that. We had Ken Hatfield in here one time, and I kept saying, we're talking with the great Ken Hatfield, and he's like, quit calling me great. So
hey, you know how to make friends. That's good.
I guess so.
I was trying to explain to these guys one time, you and I worked together back in the early 90s, what the old studio looked like when we had that monochrome monitor and the Commodore 64 where we type in the name and then you'd have to delete it and start over again. I mean, people don't. I mean, that had yellow carpeting. That carpeting had been in there since probably the 20s.
I've seen pictures of your studio now, and there's absolutely no comparison.
No,
I mean, we played Pong. We played Pong in the off hours on our TV. Atari. It was, hey, that's how primitive it was. You guys have it great now.
Yeah, we're spoiled. We're just spoiled kids.
We're spoiled, and there's no doubt about it. So,
hey, we're all pretty spoiled.
We get to work in the toy department. It's pretty great. We have a catchphrase. I don't know if you've heard about this, Chuck.
I've heard about it.
Okay,
I've heard about it.
Now, our question is: has anyone? I know it's been a different year with fans being around and going to games, but has anyone yelled out, "Hey, give me the Hogs, Chuck," to you in real life?
Yes. It happened in Indianapolis.
Yes!
It happened probably 3 or 4 times in Indianapolis, right outside the arena.
There you go.
I am so sorry. I can only apologize so much.
That's when I knew I'd made it. After all these years, that's when I knew I'd made it.
Oh, my gosh.
And I'm waiting on some royalties from those T-shirts, too, guys. I think I haven't thought about that.
You and Zach will have to talk about that later. We will get the merchandise deal going on all that stuff.
We'll get with T. Scott and see what he says about using the word hogs.
Yeah, we got it.
He gets a little grumpy about that stuff.
So go ahead.
You just spell it a different way.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah,
we thought about putting 2 G's in it.
The loophole.
So let's just start with the news of the day. I mean, you know this, this team better than all of us, and the Mike Woods departure. I think. My opinion is this year you've got Trey Knox. Next year is when Traylon goes to the NFL. That's when I think his absence is really going to be felt because you kind of expected those 2 guys to be there.
Well, you've just got to keep recruiting. You've got to recruit guys to replace him. And, I'll be honest with you. I'm kind of like everybody else. This one kind of came out of left field for me. I did not expect this. And obviously something's been going on. I mean, he didn't just on the spur of the moment decide to leave, but that's the way the system works now, and it's frustrating when you lose one, and you love it when you get one. And this is one of those times we're going to lose one, and you just got to, you got to keep recruiting, you got to keep developing, and certainly that's a guy that's going to be difficult to replace. But the good part is it's not like, and I'm not saying it's good. I'm just saying there are a lot of receivers there. There are a lot of guys that can do some things, and so. Sorry to see him go, but it's just got to be next man up.
Yeah, it is a spot where there is a lot of talent. It's unproven talent, and hey, somebody's going to get a shot. That's the exciting part about this. Is somebody, and maybe it's Trey Knox, maybe it's someone that is not really on the fans' radar, but somebody's going to get a chance here to have a big impact on this football season.
Well, here's the thing: all the receivers now. I mean, obviously, Traylon Burks knows he's going to be the guy. But everybody else, I mean, you go into the off-season now. You go into the weight room and voluntary practices and summer workouts. And, there's a spot for you there. Somebody's going to get what Mike Woods got. And so I think it's a great motivating factor for those guys because, like you say, somebody's going to have to do it. Somebody's going to step up and do it. I'm sure they will. And, we'll find out which one. But I would think for every one of them now, they go into the offseason with the idea that, hey, I've got a chance to move up the ladder.
A lot of hand-wringing through spring practice about the quarterback position. I thought KJ looked pretty comfortable. What were your impressions of him on Saturday?
I felt better driving away than I did driving in. And that's a compliment to him. I wondered what it was going to be like. The thing that jumped out to me was how fluid he is. Certainly you've got to be, you got to think when you play, but you hear that phrase, think less and the game slows down. And that's kind of what I saw from him. I thought he was fluid in his motions. I thought last year there were times and the year before when he was choppy. I thought there were times when, maybe the play wasn't as broken down as he thought it was. In other words, maybe, you wait another second before you tuck and run. And there's nothing wrong with him running. I mean, he's very good at it. But, you've got to be able to stay in there and throw the ball. And obviously they weren't passing out licks to the quarterback on Saturday. But I thought he had command of the situation. He looked like a starting quarterback to me. And that was my impression when it was over.
I'm talking with Chuck Barrett here on Ruscin and Zach. Overall, just the, and you get the different conversations with Coach Pittman and everything, being the team broadcaster and everything. But I mean, it's just the vision and just, I don't know, everything with football feels like it's all lined up and we know where they're going now. We know where they're trying to go anyway.
Well, to me, it just feels like football again. This is a guy that he's a football guy. And when he got here, we didn't have a whole lot of toughness to our football team. I mean, that's just the long and short of it. And you had a lot of good guys that I think were yearning to be coached hard. And that's what this staff's done. And there is an edge to this team now that we didn't have when these guys came in. We were soft, we were finesse, and frankly, we weren't very good at finesse. And because we were soft, we just, we were what we were. Everybody saw it. And I think he's come in and he's developing a football program. And you're going to have to be a tough football player to play for him. He's an old school guy. And I can tell you their practices are old school. And the players will tell you that. But they'll also tell you that they're a lot better than they were when this staff walked in the door for the first time.
We had him on the show last week, and one of the things that he sort of pointed out that he wanted, you go into the spring game and really just want to answer questions. And one of those questions was the offensive line. And then the other question that he had was, can we get a pass rush? How'd you see those two elements? I thought the offensive line played pretty well. The defensive line's still a work in progress.
It's hard to tell, obviously, in a spring game, but I thought the offensive line played well. And I think that's going to be a real key for KJ because, when you've got a new quarterback, making the reads is the first thing that you've got to do. It's the most important thing you've got to do. Felipe Franks was really good at it. I mean, he was really good. And, if you've got an offensive line that's a veteran line that helps that quarterback, I think you'll see a better finished product there. I'd like to see him get a little bit more physical at running back. I've got some, and they've got some questions too beyond Traylon Smith. I think there's got to be a physical edge to that running game too, and it's not just with the offensive line. And so, on the defensive side, they worked on a lot more man coverages, I think, this spring, and they emphasized that, and they want to be able to get to the quarterback without having to, bring the house. And they've got some candidates there, particularly on the edge. You've got to replace a great player in Jonathan Marshall. I mean, he's a great football player, grown man, and you got a challenge there. But defensively, the secondary is the best part of it. And if they can just get a certain amount of pressure on that quarterback, I think they've got a chance to do some pretty good things over there.
We're talking with Chuck Barrett here on Ruscin and Zach. As far as for the fans, I mean, you've got the basketball run with Musselman. Baseball's number one. Softball, track. People are believing in football. When's the last time that Arkansas athletics, for a fan, there's very little to complain about right now?
Well, you got to go way back. I mean, you got to go way back to find times when, even football and basketball were really, really good at the same time. And, yeah, I mean, everything's rolling right now. You got good coaches. You've got good facilities. It's nice to have a recruiting budget that allows you to scour the country for the best players, and SEC schools have that now. And, Arkansas is doing really well. I can remember you were talking about the early 90s, Zach. I can remember on our show when things were so good in basketball, to saying to make sure you savor it. I mean, enjoy it, because it's not going to last forever. I mean, I can remember when, and everybody that was around in the mid-'90s, we didn't think it was ever going to end with basketball, but it did. And so enjoy it, appreciate the effort that goes into it at all levels, because it doesn't just happen. And it is fun right now. I mean, there's a lot of reasons to stick your chest out.
Are we undervaluing the job that Hunter Yurachek's doing? I mean, the turnaround from when he got here, think about where we were when he arrived to where we are today. I mean, does he get enough credit for the job he's doing?
I'll tell you what I like about Hunter. I think winning matters to him. And that's really important. Winning does matter. And, you know, I'm not saying that a premium was not put on winning before, but I think it's really, you know, there's a premium put on winning now. And at the end of the day, that's what fans want. And right now, I'm sure if you were to do a poll around Arkansas and ask about Hunter Yurachek, he would get glowing reviews, and deservedly so. And you know, everything starts at the top. You know, your leader's the one that puts his thumbprint on everything, and he's the one that sets the tone. If winning doesn't matter as much as it should to your leader, that's going to trickle down. I think it matters to him. I know it matters to him. And, yeah, he deserves a lot of credit for what's going on right now.
Yeah. And you know, it's for people that think you always have to kind of stay in the family. You know, Michigan gets it. We need a Michigan man. This is a guy with really no ties at all here, and look at what he has done here. So, you know, it can work both ways. It can work with someone who has Arkansas ties. It can also work if you get the right person who comes from outside of the footprint of our state, too.
You know, it's an interesting business now. There was a time when, not just here, but everywhere, people tended to stay in-house more, from the top to the bottom. As the money's gotten greater and departments have expanded, college athletics at the highest levels has become much more of a transient business. And it's not just here, it's this way everywhere. I think you've got to have somebody, even if they're not from there, as long as you have someone that is willing to come in, and this is important, it's not to be understated, that is willing to come in and learn the territory. I mean, really learn the territory and learn the people and learn what makes them tick and learn what's important to them. You know, that's the way the business works now. You may not have somebody from your own backyard anymore, but those are really important things, and you've got to be willing to do that. You've got to be willing to get out in the state and meet people. And this is a small working-class state. You've got to be willing to go to those people. And I thought when Hunter came here and he did that, I thought that was a really good signal.
Do you find when you're just out at a grocery store and somebody kind of taps you on the shoulder and they want to talk to you about this? Is this happening more and more as the teams get better and better? I mean, you're there to just get your peaches and get out of the store. And all these people want to do is they want to talk to you about football and basketball. And I mean, can you feel that from the fan base?
Oh, yeah, and I love it. I mean, that was the best part about being in Indianapolis, really, even though it was, you know, not anything like it would have been, was just being around fans again. I mean, during football season, everything was so controlled, even for those of us that, you know, weren't necessarily in the bubble, so to speak. I mean, it was still really controlled on where we could go and who we could see and who we could, you know, be within 10 feet of. And, you know, to see the people there at the basketball games in Indianapolis, and when the team came out of the arena after they'd won and all the fans were outside, you know, that was really neat. And that's the part that, you know, that's the part that makes it fun. And everyone's fired up when you're doing well, and everybody wants to talk about it. And that's what makes it fun. When your team's doing well, it's always a good day.
Chuck Barrett's our guest here on Ruscin and Zach. Yeah, any other you know, memories or things that'll stand out about the first Elite Eight run here since 1995, I guess?
Well, just from a personal standpoint, it was getting to call a game in Hinkle Fieldhouse. I mean, that's the thing that that's the thing that I'll remember. That was an unexpected bucket list item, I guess. I don't know that I had it on there, but it was. You know, it's one of those things that just kind of happened, and getting to go to that facility, that arena, and, you know, I watched Hoosiers the night before just to get myself in the proper frame of mind, and that was a neat experience. But, you know, I don't know about having that thing in Indianapolis every year because it's still pretty cold up there in March. I'm just going to tell you. But they love basketball. They love basketball. It is ingrained in the fabric of that state, and they enjoyed having it there. They enjoyed having everything there. It was all, for the most part, once you got past the first game, everything was pretty much concentrated in the downtown part of the city. So I think our fans that came up there had a great time. I saw a lot of them.
I know you love what's going on over at Baum. Does you ever just have to pinch yourself and go, how does Dave do this every year? Where it's you're not rebuilding, you're reloading every year, and they're in the top 5 now. They're number 1, and you were there when Norm ended. Did you ever just kind of marvel at what goes on over at Baum?
Oh, all the time. All the time, because I remember how it used to be, and how it is now is it's solely due to Dave's vision. Dave's the one that's done it. He's not only elevated the program, but if you'll notice, the last several years now, he's elevated the sport. He's been a great steward of the game, and the talent that comes out of Arkansas now is a whole lot better than it was. I can tell you back in the 90s and even after Dave got here, you didn't have the number of in-state players that you have now. The talent wasn't what it is now. And he's built his program, and indirectly he's built a lot of high school programs in our state too. The sport's better because of him, and the Razorbacks are better because of him. And, you can go out of state now with that facility, and, you can bring in a kid from anywhere. You can bring in a kid from anywhere in the United States, plop him down in a seat with his parents for the weekend, and it's going to be awfully hard for him to say no. And that's what they've got now.
Yeah. Still a little bit of, on this side of it, though, there's still a little of the football mentality with fans where they think, like, when you lose, the sky's falling. But in baseball, you're going to lose. Like, it's based on failure a lot of the time. So still trying to cross some of those bridges, but yeah, people are really excited, and it's amazing to watch how it has grown even since I started covering sports back in 2007 to where it is now. It's amazing.
Well, and a baseball season's a marathon. It's not a sprint, and there's an ebb and a flow to it. And you win every weekend, and you're going to buy somebody's going to buy you a championship ring at the end of the year if you take 2 or 3 every weekend most years. And they're really good. They're what most teams want to be right now, and we just need to trust them and watch them play and enjoy it.
Yeah. Chuck Barrett, voice of the Razorbacks, with us here on Ruscin and Zach. Chuck, as always, we appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
All right, guys. Thanks for having me. I enjoyed it.
All right. Chuck Barrett with us here on Ruscin and Zach.